Howdy again everyone, and today we're checking out a very unusual new optic from Astrhori, an 18mm f8 2x macro Periprobe lens. Yes, it's a probe lens that can see around corners. This is basically an APS-C version of their recent 28mm Periprobe lens for full frame cameras. This APS-C version gives a smaller image circle but a brighter aperture, which are both potentially useful. I'd like to thank Astrhori very much for sending me a copy of this unusual optic for testing, although as usual this will be an independent review. The lens costs $789 in the US or $1,170 as a set together with a straight vertical probe lens that you'll be able to change in and out of the base lens, and this will be available for Canon RF, Nikon Z, Fuji X, L-mount Alliance, Micro Four Thirds and Sony E-mount cameras, which is the version I'll be testing here today. The first thought I had when I heard about these things, including its 28mm full-frame brother, was what a crazy idea. A lens like that is just too niche. Who on earth is going to use it, and for what? I genuinely couldn't figure it out until I bothered to watch Astrhori's explanation video, which made me feel stupid because, as you can see, the lens has plenty of uses for dynamic video work at very close distances to your subject. Okay, it's still a pretty niche product, to put it mildly, but still one that could offer a genuinely unique angle on things. Today's video is going to be a much simpler and shorter review than I normally make, for the simple reason that my testing setup is 100% not designed for periscope style lenses at all, and the mere thought of trying to complete my standardized tests gave me massive anxiety. But that doesn't really matter too much, because this lens is obviously primarily designed for video work rather than stills photography, so the need to pixel peep at test charts isn't really there so much. All the same, I'll do the best I can in my coverage today. I should mention that, although it's designed to shoot at up to 2x macro distances, it can still shoot at infinity also. The entire front end of this probe is waterproof, able to be submerged up to 25 centimeters. Mind your camera when shooting around water, obviously. And to top it all off, there's a series of LED lights at the end, which can be adjusted to various strengths. Unfortunately, but unsurprisingly, they are not powered by your camera though. You will need a separate USB battery pack to power them, which plugs in at the rear. Any USB power source will do, such as a small portable phone recharger. Those lights are really helpful, although, as you'd expect, they have a dramatic impact on your final image, for better or worse. The build quality of the lens is real nice, metallic, tough and tightly assembled. It even comes with its own carry case. The rear of the lens is not weather sealed, but as I mentioned, the front probe is waterproof. At the rear there's a metallic geared focus ring that turns very precisely and a little heavily. In front of that comes the aperture ring, enabling you to adjust aperture between f8 and f28 for extra depth of field, although obviously because of diffraction the lens is never going to be especially sharp at those darker apertures. The lens, as you can see, is easy to use. You will want to have a sturdy rig with a decent slider or a clever tripod to take full advantage of it though. Handheld video work will be totally unacceptable. This thing is something for professionals with a decent setup. When it comes to still photography, well, I wouldn't bother really. Its narrow aperture and periscope design just make it a real pain to use. Stick with video on this one, where I found that sharpness and contrast were actually perfectly okay. Astrhori seem to have maintained that despite the unusual design. Overall, just like its 28mm bigger brother, you'll definitely have to know what you're doing to properly handle this crazy piece of kit, but if you do, well, its quality is all there. It works great, it's not bad value for such a specialist and unusual optic, and it'll serve video makers quite well.